It's not innovation for, we want to be the first one to do this. How do we change the game so that we can see positive change in where we are?
I think that's when you get comments like, this piece of work feels soulless, or it's creepy.
All of these tech will have really concrete impact in our lives. At the end of the day, you'll say that ito yung innovation.
How would you redefine or even define innovation looking at all of the work that you see today?
Thanks, Liam. I think brands and marketers and agencies and even productions embrace and leverage on emerging tech already. If there's something that AI doesn't have that we have, it's really empathy. While it's programmed to recognize and respond to human emotions, they don't have emotions. So it's really us humans that knows our truth and that can prompt it. So I think that's the core of it.
How do you foster and nurture a group of people to really embrace and think about innovation? Right? Because it doesn't happen, sometimes it doesn't happen naturally. So you can start it off, because I know FWD has been doing a lot of great work as well. And I know it doesn't happen overnight. So maybe you can speak about it.
My personal view is that it starts with culture, right? With the company culture. I'm happy to share that at FWD, not all of us are experts at the same things. We do different things. But what everyone does share is putting the customers first. When we know that the customer is at the center of everything that we do, our purpose is clear, that really fuels us and motivates us to think about innovation differently. So when we look at innovation, when it's clear for us, who are we doing this for and what are the solutions that they need, what are their problems, what are their pain points, what do they want them to do? So that's where we look at innovation and think, okay, we're not just innovating for the sake of innovation, right? We're not innovating for the sake of, there's a new technology, we need to embrace it. We need to try out AI, we need to try out Web3, we need to try out Bitcoin, whatever. It's not really innovation for innovation's sake. It's not innovation for technology's sake. It's not innovation for, we want to be the first one to do this. I think it's really about how do we change the game so that we can see positive change in where we are. So that's how I see innovation. It's really about developing things so that you can do better, right? You can serve the people better as well.
Yeah, I saw you nodding your head earlier.
Yeah.
We think about how do you create and foster or cultivate innovation within an organization. The government, and this is my own personal point of view, that isn't the first kind of organization I'd think of. So how do you do it for Quezon City and the team that you have?
For this kind of innovation programs, innovating a program and upgrading a program is really quite challenging, most especially in government, because we have to think about bureaucracy, we have to think about religious sector, blah, 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 and various sector that we have to advocate. Believe in this project, blah, blah, blah. So it's really quite challenging, most especially when you are really talking with officials, traditional politicians. But of course, when you have a leader, that's a very important component. When a leader believes in a certain project, regardless if that's prone to bashing, you have a really big support from your leader. That's really very important. When you have a diverse and progressive team, it's really the work. If you believe in that work, if you are really an advocate for that work, we have to implement that.
Let's talk about picks for pricks, Lexi. This is something, when you think about data and tech, it is, I'm not going to say it's high tech, but talk about how you looked at data and tech from your perspective, and what were some of the watch-outs that you also saw when you were looking at that from an innovation lens?
When you think about a client like Love Yourself, which as an NGO, you know that their budget is not exactly big. And you also think about the objective of getting these tests to as many different people as possible. So you can't go for a piece of tech that's super high tech or super inaccessible. It was really important to us to kind of bring it to a place where people could have access to this and have it be the simplest way that they could do it.
I love the adaptability to, the context and the environment. I'm not going to say we're low tech, but definitely we're far from the metaverse currently. And I think definitely that case study was a good example of that one. Something that doesn't change, and this is my perspective, doesn't change amidst all of the things that are changing around us, is creativity and the power of storytelling. How do you see the role of creativity in how this industry or how our advertisers are innovating the way that they're reaching their consumers?
It starts with us having that, everyday interaction of sharing different trends. Like we have a Slack, there's like a channel there called Random, and we share like trends, memes, everything. So I think it starts with that, like, being able to be in touch, really like immerse yourself to what's happening online. Because it feels forced if you just, think, oh, what's this new tech? Let's think of an idea around this tech. No, I think it's really more of, not just the idea doesn't just start from you. You have to be open and see what's happening and finding out the trends, what's the latest technology. And I think when you have that type of collaboration, when you ideate and brainstorm, it just pops up naturally. It's there. The idea, there's innovation. That's part of how you ideate. So it's not a separate thing. Oh, the idea. So then let's think of a technology too. So now I think it's important. Like me, I still feel like I'm in my 20s. You have to be open to innovations, the trends, what's happening out there, and and being able to integrate that to your ideas.
I think people can tell when the use of something tech related or some innovation is a gimmick. I think that's when you get comments like, this piece of work feels soulless or it's creepy.
He's going to say, name me a piece, but just kidding, it might be too far for
So I think, at the end of the day, if you're using a piece of tech or innovation just for the sake of using it, people aren't dumb. Like, they're going to feel like they can't resonate with that piece of work. They're going to feel like they can't relate to what you're trying to sell them. And I think that's where creativity comes in. You really have to be able to utilize it in such a way that makes sense to who you're talking to. And the innovation just becomes a way for you to get creativity across to the people you're talking to.
I just want to react and add comment because I really envy the creative team. So I really envy the conversation, the openness, and the braveness because we cannot adopt that kind of system in the government because we are really very limited because we only have to work on this kind of programs, services, social services, etc. We lacked a creativeness and creative team in the government because why? Because we are very traditional, and some of our employees there came from the generation baby boomers, etc. So we are lacking Generation C and the future generation because the youth nowadays tend to opt for a more commercial and non-public service jobs. So my actually plan and my wish for all the government institutions to have this kind of discussion for our old politicians to appreciate the use of AI, the impact it may do to upgrade our programs in government. And at the end of the day, I see all of us are advocates.
A lot of the times, creativity is also like a crutch for innovation. Doing creativity for creativity's sake. Ay, pa-creative. Ba different. Bago. But there's really no impact or no effectivity. Right? So, especially when you're on the client side, or for example, when you're on the government side, the results really need to speak for themselves. It cannot be work that is creative or innovative, but only a few people have seen, or only a few people know about it, or only award circuits know about it. Truly important work should be in the service of people. Right? I mean, but tayo naging creative, innovative, if wala namang impact pala siya. Yes, there is, I think there needs to be a balance between creativity, innovation, and the realities of life. Like, for example, realities of your customers, the realities of business. we always get a lot of ideas, as a client. But at the end of the day, parang the question is really, how well do you know the customer? How well do you know what is the problem first? I think real creativity or effective creativity stems from what is the problem first, right? A problem like how to care for LGBT communities. You can still break that down to many different problems.
Yeah.
Or how do you increase insurance penetration or financial inclusion? Or how do you bridge the financial gap in the country? That's a big problem. Now you can break that down into smaller problems. And then which of the problems can create the most significant impact when you solve that problem? And I think that's where creativity comes in. I think the first step for creativity and innovation is really finding what is that, ano yung pinakamasakit na problem that can make or that can spell the difference.
With what's been said on creativity, with what's been said as well in terms of the data and tech earlier, and even leadership and culture, what do you think, in your perspective, would be some of the biggest hurdles or challenges in getting either companies or organizations to be more innovative, especially in the current world that we live in? What are those challenges that you have? And I'm probably going to name one, right? And I call it the innovator's dilemma, which is, it's not from the book Innovator's Dilemma, but it's really about how do you spend ahead of any kind of tangible upside on revenue or business when it comes to innovation? Because it's always a challenge, whether it's for clients, whether it's for organizations, or even big bosses, right? They'll always ask you, why do I need to spend on this, when they don't see the upside immediately? But that is just one of the biggest challenges that I do see. So what, in your perspective, are those hurdles and challenges?
When you explore AI and all of the technologies that optimizes the processes, there needs to be some room for experimentation, that you should allow your people to test and play, but also learn. Sometimes there will be failures, but it's really failing forward and learning from it. And I think it's important to have that culture, especially as we delve and explore more emerging tech. It's not going to be always perfect.
What are the spaces? I mean, in the past 2 years, there have been terms such as the metaverse and Web3 come up. And until now, I don't think many of us have felt that. What are the spaces, when you look at, I guess, the omni-channel, omni-platform environment that we live in, what are the spaces of innovation that you think excite you, right? Where do you think it's going to come from as well? Is it going to come from more AI? Is it going to come from maybe a synthesis of all these things? What are you looking at or focusing on that you think innovation will be coming out from?
We are now investing with our youth. So we have programs like Startup. These are the programs for college students who are with concepts or ideas or some kind of presentation to our departments. We also have we called it I Know Hub. This is an innovation hub for elementary students. So as early as now, we are really investing in our youth and our leaders from different sectors, because the government really is very limited for the innovation services. So again, we are trying to invest in our youth for more progressive ideas and programs.
So for me, it's easy to think that the Philippines or our market is behind. I think in most cases, we're never going to be the first to try out a new piece of tech. We're never going to be able to banner that. But for me, that's exciting because it gives us the time and the resources to kind of look at what other places are doing and see how we can adapt that to our market. What's good about Filipino creativity is that we're resourceful, we're scrappy, we don't have access or the budget to all these big, super high-tech, super tech-savvy sort of things. But what we are good at is taking those things, taking those elements, and seeing how we can apply it to our people, to our problems, to our market. So I think as long as we have that sort of mindset that we're never behind at trying something new, at trying whatever's out there, I think we can still go pretty far.
Since AI is continuously evolving, I think what excites me is, like me being able to evolve or learn more with AI because it's actually a challenge. We should see AI as a tool. And for us to be able to do that is we have to, to be up to date, to keep up with the trends of what's happening with AI. And I think also in terms of, because you mentioned earlier, diba? It's about now it's experimenting, but I'm excited, like, being able to, like, yung puzzle pieces, like being able to realize what's the exact role of, innovation or AI in our lives. Like, for now, in terms of search engines, diba? Parang nag-evolve na siya to use of chat GPT versus before it's just Google. Now, you can do so many things and search, through chat GPT. So I think has become a clear role for, at least for chat GPT. So I think, as mentioned by Janet, is the challenge is how to make it more available, like more inclusive then. Because hirap if it's just like a certain percentage lang of Filipinos who evolve with, with AI or tech. And sana lahat, diba? Kasi it can also help them. And they see that as a tool versus it's a tool to para mangdaya, for example. So I think there's also like a challenge for us to, to educate also, especially, children, how they can integrate innovation and tech into their everyday living, basically.
Okay. Shared prosperity. And prosperity can be defined in different ways. Like, for example, yun nga, tech being accessible to people. And for me, my definition of prosperity, if it makes my life easy. So prosperity can be, for businesses, is defined as long as we have good revenue, making our products relevant to the market, etc. And for agencies, making creativity accessible and being supported by everyone and seen, diba? That idea coming to life. I think that in itself that's what excites me. And ultimately, because of that shared prosperity, it will make our lives easier, but also it will build communities towards the brand, towards the vision, towards the idea, because people are they experience the brand, experience that creative idea. They are savvy because they're exposed and they're knowledgeable on AI and tools, and we can use it natively in our lives. So it democratizes everything, but it also gives us all of these tech will have really concrete impact in our lives, that it's not just, abstract, na at the end of the day, you'll say that ito yung innovation kasi it makes my life easy, it makes my life better, but at the same time, I can contribute also because I know and I'm knowledgeable with those platforms and those tech.
We touched on so much. And whether it's the organizations that we have, the end goal of innovation, I think that's really, the single, probably most important question we need to ask ourselves. Why are we innovating? And what kind of impact do we want to create? Are some of the big themes that came out, at the very least for me today. Probably the last one, and okay, you mentioned this, it also our own desire to innovate ourselves, I think, is probably also one of the biggest questions we need to ask. If, innovation is something that we really will hunger for as we grasp all of these changes that are happening around us. So, Janet, I will send my CV, not just kidding. Janet and Sonia, Lexi, Kay, and Earl, thank you so much for sharing your insights this afternoon. And yes, thank you for being a part of this panel.
Thank you.